that from now on, all of the Jewish people will be slaves. And they will work for me all day long in the hot sun and all night. And they can never have a break. And they can never have time with their friends and their family. And they can never have birthday parties. Ever. They will be slaves to me, and they will do nothing but work all day to build what I want them to build. And that's exactly what happened. All the Jewish people were made slaves to Pharaoh and had to spend all day long out in the hot sun building whatever Pharaoh wanted.
Sun, can't see.
Can you see?
Really hot sun.
Really hot sun in Egypt. And then one day, a Jewish baby was born, and his name was Moses. And Moses' mommy wanted to keep Moses safe. Didn't want him to end up having to be a slave, and so she put him in a basket and sent the basket down the Nile River. The Nile is the name of the river. And his big sister, whose name was... Anyone remember Moses' big sister's name?
No.
Miriam. Miriam followed along, she walked along the banks of the river and followed the basket as her little baby brother floated down to make sure that he was safe and okay. Do you guys want to scoot out a little bit so that everybody can see?
Jillian, move to the edge of the rug. If
So
everyone
Here, I'll shift this
ahead,
way.
Allie.
Can everybody see?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And she's a princess.
Oh, we're almost there. So, someone saw this baby in a basket floating down the river, and she took the baby out of the river. And that someone was...
Moses.
The baby was Moses, and who took him out of the river?
The princess.
The princess, Pharaoh's daughter. And Miriam, Moses' big sister, ran up to the princess and said, "Would you like me to bring you someone who could help you to raise this baby at the palace?" And the princess said yes. And you know who Miriam brought to help raise her baby brother at the palace? Their mom. Miriam went and got her mom and brought their mom to the palace to help raise Moses. And Moses grew up in the palace.
Why is she mad?
I don't think she's mad. I think she's just very serious. The princess of Egypt there. And eventually, Moses grew up. And he left Egypt, and he got married, and he was out in the fields one day taking care of his father-in-law's
sheep.
Those are sheep, little Lego sheep. And he's out taking care of the sheep one day when suddenly he notices a bush that's on fire. That's right. And a voice came from the bush and said, "Moses." And Moses looked around because he couldn't see anyone. And the voice came again, "Moses." Moses said, "Who is that?" The voice said, "This is God. And I have a mission for you. You," see, God talking from the bush. God said, "Moses, you need to go back to Egypt. And you need to get all the Jewish people out of slavery. You need to go talk to Pharaoh and convince him to let our people go." And Moses said, "I don't think so. It's a long walk back to Egypt, and Pharaoh kind of scares me a little bit, and I'm not really good at public speaking." And God said, "It's okay. I'll be with you, and I'll send your brother Aaron with you as well, and Aaron will help you speak to Pharaoh." And Moses said, "Well, okay." So Moses and Aaron went back to Egypt, and they went to Pharaoh, and they said, "Pharaoh, it's not okay. It's not okay, Pharaoh, that all the Jewish people are slaves. It's time for you to let our people go." And Pharaoh said, No. I like my slaves. I'm not going to let them go." And Moses said, "Well, if you don't, you should know God is with us, and God's on our side here. God wants you to let the people go. And God's going to make some bad stuff happen." That's true. God's going to make some bad stuff happen if you don't let the people go. And Pharaoh said, "You know what? I hear that, but no, I'm not going to let them go." So Moses took his staff, his walking stick, and he threw it down on the ground, and it turned into a snake. And Pharaoh said, "Yo, interesting. But I've seen that party trick before. My magicians can do that one too. And so Pharaoh's magicians all stepped forward and they all threw their staffs onto the ground and they all turned into snakes. But then Moses' snake got really big and ate all the other snakes. How cool is that?
So, my daddy's name Aaron.
That is true.
And
That's
guess
exactly
what?
right.
If I was Moses, I was big like him. I would throw my dad's out and he already be big, and then he will eat all the little
Snakes just like this. It's a pretty cool story, right? So Moses and Aaron say, look, you've got to let the people go, otherwise really, really bad things are going to happen here in Egypt. And Pharaoh said, no, I will not let them go. Absolutely not. And Moses said, okay, so Moses went outside and he held his staff out over the Nile River where he had floated as a baby, remember? And the whole river turned red and no one could drink the water anymore. And it was horrible. None of the animals could drink. They couldn't water their plants. Nobody could drink. Everybody was so thirsty. And Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron back in.
Because it turned into blood.
Yeah, exactly. So Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron back in and said, you've got to fix this. You've got to fix the river. And they said, will you let the Jewish people go from slavery if we do that? And Pharaoh said, yes, I promise. I'll let the Jewish people go if you turn the river back. So they went outside and turned the river back. And then Pharaoh said, you know what? I changed my mind. Thanks for turning the river back, but I changed my mind. I'm not going to let them go. And Moses said, if you don't let them go, more bad stuff is going to happen to Egypt. And Pharaoh said, meh, the river thing's fixed. I'm not that worried about it. And then frogs showed up. And they were everywhere. They were in your sock drawer. And they were in your bathtub. And they were on your pillow when you tried to go to sleep at night. It was gross. They were everywhere. And Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron back in and said, please, get rid of the frogs.
Even when you go to sleep on your covers.
And they were everywhere, in your bed with you. It was gross.
In your tummy.
They climbed into your pajamas. It was horrible.
In your mouth.
Everywhere.
In your mouth.
If you didn't keep it shut, yeah. And Pharaoh said, you got to get rid of them. And Moses and Aaron, they were everywhere. And Moses and Aaron said, you got to... Moses and Aaron said, we will get rid of the frogs.
Let's see the next part.
Moses said, I'll get rid of the frogs if you let the Jewish people go. And Pharaoh said, that's fine, I'll let them go. Just get rid of the frogs. And so Moses got rid of the frogs. And again, Pharaoh changed his mind. You know what, on second thought, I'm not going to let them go. And this happened over and over again. Mosquitoes came, and everybody was getting mosquito bites all over them, and still Pharaoh wouldn't let them go. And then beetles came, and they ate all the fruit on the trees outside. These are the bad beetles, not the good beetles like George and John and Paul and Rainbow. These are horrible beetles, and they ate all the fruit on the trees outside, and still Pharaoh wouldn't let the Israelites go. And then all the animals got sick, and he still wouldn't let them go. And then everybody got sores, these boils all over their bodies, still wouldn't let them go. And then ice, hail fell from the heavens and was bonking everyone on the head. It was horrible. And still Pharaoh wouldn't let them go. And it kept on going. The locusts came and ate all the vegetables, and darkness, and plague after plague after plague after plague, until Pharaoh finally said, stop! I can't take it anymore. You can take the Jewish people and leave. And so Moses and Aaron led all the Jewish people out of Egypt in such a hurry. They ran away so fast, they didn't even have time to let the bread rise in their ovens. And that's why they had to eat matzah. And that's why we still eat matzah. Right? During Passover, we still eat matzah today. That's right. To remind us of how fast our ancestors had to run away from Egypt. And you know what happened as soon as the Jewish people left Egypt? You know what happened? Pharaoh said, I changed my mind again. Get my army together, and we're all going to chase after those Israelites. We're going to bring them back here to Egypt and make them slaves again. And Moses and all the Jewish people arrived at the Sea of Reeds. It's a big, huge sea. It's like a big ocean. And they couldn't swim across. It was too far. And now Pharaoh and his armies are chasing from behind and they didn't know what to do. So Moses held his staff out over the water, and the water split in two, leaving dry ground in the middle. And all the Israelites got to walk through with walls of water on both sides. You can imagine how cool it would be. They walked through on dry land to the other side.
Excuse me, that would be so cool if I walked through. And then I could just stop and drink.
Yeah, you could stop and take